You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Hello and welcome to Talks Honest. You are tuned in to iLive Radio UK, changing the way you listen to radio. I'm your host, Miss Law, and this is a platform and an opportunity for you to discuss topics never spoken but often thought of. You can connect with us by contacting 0208 638 8503 or www.uk.iliveradio.com.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 What if we spoke honestly?
Today's topic is controlled or controller. Joining me on today's show is Miss Browne and Miss Mode. Have you ever experienced it hands-on from someone close to you? Has anyone ever experienced it hand-on from someone close to them? Now, when you think about control, controlled, being controlled, it rings different alarm bells in our heads. Some people may experience control or a controlled behavior from an individual such as a spouse. Sometimes it could be a colleague. In some cases, it can also be your boss and family and friends. Now let's just think about that. Being controlled by someone. And on the flip side, let's think about being the controlling, the controller. The person that puts pressure on an individual in different ways to make them feel a certain way. This is a pretty deep subject, because when we sit down and we think about it, there's quite a few of us who can relate to being controlled in some situation. Now, ladies, control is a powerful word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a powerful force. You know, it dictates, it influences, maneuvers, and directs certain energies to each one of us. I know some people may not identify being controlled or even being the controller. But everyone may have a story to tell about being controlled in one way or another. So let's just talk about this. Have you or anyone you know been in a controlled situation, either be they the controlled person or even around someone who's quite controlling?
I think, well, I can only go by what I've seen of someone, being that they were an adult, but their parent used to kind of dictate you know, you can't go here, you can't do this, you must dress a certain way. And obviously everybody should have a free mind and say on what they want to do.
Yeah.
But because it's I don't know, it's different controlling someone compared to like telling someone something that will benefit them. So the reason why you shouldn't do that is because of A, B and C, but then to be dictated to say like you must do that. No, this does not look good on you. You must wear this all the time because of maybe you are very curvy or something like that. And oh, you can't go to these certain places, you must stay home. So that's what they've done. So
it's conditioning,
and
isn't it?
Yeah, it's conditioned them to the point where they don't really go nowhere unless they're going out with that parent or that family member.
Yeah, because they begin to believe that what that person is saying
is right.
Now,
I was just going to say, but sometimes do you think that because of the characteristics of that person, maybe they're not saying the child, for instance, but say maybe an adult, if they're kind of the passive person within a relationship or within, say, a work setting, for example, somebody that they're quite happy for somebody just to take charge.
I think
Can that also be seen as somebody being controlling, or is it that that person might be more equipped or more skilled to actually deal with a situation or circumstance at that time?
Oh, okay.
I think there comes a point with that. You can be with someone who is more dominant than yourself, or vice versa, and it would be classed as controlling. However, each person has different strengths.
Yeah, that's what.
So it's at what point does it cross to become the point that that person has now taken over and they're controlling you as an individual? So now you no longer have a voice. So that's the worrying point. And are we able to realise when we've crossed that line?
I think it can be kind of hard for some people to identify that actually you actually don't have a say in certain things. Because
with someone who is controlling, they are doing something on a regular basis. They're talking to that person, they're saying certain things to that person to make them feel possibly inferior, no self-worth, their values, they don't have any, because they believe whatever you're saying to them is right.
So going back to because it's a mother and daughter situation, and I think with the result of how that mother was very controlling to her daughter, it's like now she doesn't have that social skills to, just because she wouldn't let her go out on her own.
Okay.
Grown woman, but wouldn't let her go out on her own unless she's going out with her mum.
Okay.
So the situation is like with now is that she doesn't go out on her own.
She doesn't have those skills.
She don't have them skills, and it's because obviously when you go out, wherever you're going, you go out, you learn new things.
Of course.
You see things, you learn. Something interests you, whether it's clothing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But when you're just stuck indoors nearly every day, unless your mum's going out to do shopping or something like that, that does something to you mentally.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I was going to say that can actually be very unhealthy.
That's right.
Like you said, mentally and physically, like it can really affect that person, I think. It's a shame. I mean, it's sad to hear that somebody's going through that. I've actually never heard of an older person being the child of, being controlled by their parent.
I think with parents and children. Parents are controlling to a degree, but there are different levels of control. When it becomes a dictatorship, or it becomes a point where you're not able to make any decisions for yourself, that's when a problem has arisen. That is a major problem.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we take these things quite lightly. You know, someone may say something to one of us, and at first you hear it once, you don't think nothing of it. Then you hear it again, and you hear it again, to the point that you begin to believe what has been told to you. So for me, that's the point of conditioning. For you to keep telling me the same thing over and over and over again, I'm being conditioned. And now your controlling behavior is kicking in. But when you're in a situation, you don't see that. It's very hard as an individual to identify I am being controlled when you're in that situation.
So is there like any signs or something to show that person who may be even now listening, affected by that? Is there any signs that they can look out for? And that's just generic. It's not just like partnership, like
colleagues, boss, across the board. Well, I think the strength is within.
Right.
For me, I would say, for the simple reason you need to know yourself. And then once you know yourself, you know your scope, and then you know how to deal with people. I think a lot of times is we're so worried about being accepted on different levels. Society, friends, family, we lose focus. And when we lose that focus, we become vulnerable to somebody who may be controlling. So when we connect with somebody like that, someone who is controlling can identify there's a weakness. So what they do is they tend to home in on that, and then you become, sorry to put it this way, you become a victim of control. Yeah.
But do you think the person that is controlling is actually insecure themselves? Like, it's not... The reason why they're doing this is because it's a deeper issue within themselves.
100%.
They can't cope or focus if...
That's their coping mechanism. That is their coping mechanism,
basically.
being in control. Yeah.
So they feel safe within whatever environment they're in.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, though.
Yeah, because I mean, when I think about things that I'm doing, for example, I would classify myself as controlling, not a controller. Yeah. Okay, I'm just make that very clear.
Yeah.
There are certain things in my life that I feel the need to take control of. That's personal to me. So I may be doing something, and if I'm not in control of that situation, I don't feel right. Let me use something as an example. Okay, just say I'm writing a letter. Yeah. Okay, it's an important letter, but the words that I'm putting on this letter aren't saying what I want to say in the right way. For me, I could become very controlling over that situation to the point that I just think whatever I'm writing it's not right. It's not right. No.
You're not satisfied.
I'm not satisfied with what I've put on that piece of paper. But then it will take a friend to come and say, "Oh, no, that's fine. I'll just put that word in and I'll just add that." And then you're like, okay. But being controlling within your own self can be a lot. Yeah. Because people looking in see you as like, oh, you're a bit aggy. You're a bit, oh. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how you come over.
Yeah, no, I think, in those kind of situations, people need to just sometimes take a step back because it's not always what you see on the front cover. Yeah.
But do you identify that you're actually being controlling? This is the thing. Like, do you know you're being controlling?
Sometimes there's certain situations. Okay, if I feel that I know what I'm doing, and maybe there's I've set that kind of goal, and I've got certain expectations to do with whatever it is I'm doing, then yes, I think that I can be controlling to a certain extent.
I think we all are controlling in one element or another.
Yeah.
And that's about being in control of whatever we're doing. Now, flipping that and being in control of a individual or a person, or trying to control a person, is a completely different scenario now.
Yeah.
You know, that just goes way out of proportion.
Like you said, like it takes calculation for someone to control something, or someone.
But with someone who is controlling, where has that come from?
Well, when you was talking about the mother and the daughter situation, I was actually going to ask the question, like, is that person, that lady, whoever it is, actually controlling herself? Because that's the only way she knows how to cope with any situation that she's in.
Right, because then I'm thinking, is it something that she dealt with?
Learned behaviour.
Learned behaviour.
And then obviously she's got it, so she's kind of passed it on now.
Yeah. It's a possibility. It's more than likely the case.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And the fact that the mother's situation hasn't never been addressed.
No, and
then the daughter becomes the victim, and then if she has children, her children could become victims of the same scenario. Even her partner.
That's right. And the fact that she won't have that social skill, just dealing with daily life,
just to escape,
But how did she cope up until that point, like school, college, or whatever? Like, does this person work? Is this person just somebody that goes work and then home and then doesn't socialise with other people?
She doesn't really socialise with anyone. And sadly, obviously, her mum passed away.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
But
sorry to hear that.
like, she's just home and just.
So
she's got other family members. She's got her sister and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel personally, if she was more, not necessarily left on her own, but just left to go out and explore, walk about, whatever, look at things, go in a cafe, have something to eat, and just have that time, and then maybe she'll be able to make friends and stuff like that. But
I think it boils down to really breaking down those walls.
Yeah.
And, for those people who aren't in that, they wouldn't see. They would just see that she's just very to herself.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying about, people categorize people based on how they are or how they react to things. And sometimes there's underlying issues.
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to know that by looking at them. You're just going to say, oh, that person's quiet, or they don't really interact that much. Instead of saying, oh, maybe I should make that effort and actually speak to that person. Just open up that door, because it's closed. It's very closed.
I was going to say, just like when working with children, those are the kind of things that you need to look out for. So it might not necessarily be that, being controlled is a part of, like, I would think, a sign of abuse, because that person
most definitely
is, like you said, telling you what to wear, telling you can't go there, basically. So, those kind of things, not socialising with other children, maybe just playing by yourself, not having any friends, not inviting people over. Yeah, those kind of things will send out alarm bells. And I think in any situation, there could be somebody there that could help you. Like, for your friend, that person, there must be somebody close within the family, or even the fact that, I don't know if she's spoken to you about it, but you've seen it. That's one step towards moving forward, or her moving forward in maybe coming out, maybe invite her to a cafe to have a coffee, or say, would you like to go, don't know what her interests are, flower market, or just something, hasn't have to be anything too intense, and then
if
that person's ready to then go back home or whatever, then at least, but they've taken that first step.
But it's quite interesting because she was around her mother all the time. She didn't identify being controlled. Now her mother's passed, sadly. She can see that she lacks certain things. But it's like I would say, it's not when you're in a situation, you don't identify. It's when you're away from that situation, and then you actually start to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then you start to identify, oh, I was being controlled. You know, that person was controlling. But it gets to that point where the damage is already done, right?
Yeah, because you lose friendships. There's loads of things that can happen.
There's going to be trauma there.
Yeah.
And that trauma, in a certain way, you can put it to the back of your head, and it's there, but it's still there.
Yeah,
it's not gone.
It's not resolved.
So something could happen today, and something would trigger that.
Yes, 100%.
And get you emotional and whatnot. Yeah. But that trauma is always going to still be there.
That's right.
Which is just, I wish people who are controlling someone, like, be mindful of what you're doing to that person.
So the fact that someone's controlling you, or they're controlling, my question is, do they actually know that they're being controlling? You see, if you've been controlled, once you're away from that situation, you identify that person's controlling. If you're speaking to a colleague and they're overpowering you, you know that person's quite controlling. You know, to the point where you either have conversations with that individual or you don't. But when you're in a situation such as a relationship, it's not that easy to identify you're being controlled until you're away from that. So what are the warnings? You know, are there any warnings? Because someone saying that you're wearing a dress, the dress is too short, just may be their preference of not liking women in short dresses. You showing your cleavage over not showing your cleavage may be personal preference to that individual.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not about you as the individual who's wearing that short dress or showing your cleavage. I think it's to do with the insecurity of the person that's actually projecting that kind of energy.
So, but at what point do you say no more? What point do you identify, oh, this isn't right? At what point do you say enough is enough? I'm out of this. These are the questions that when people sit down and listen to what we're talking about, alarm bells do ring, but we don't pay attention to the alarm bells because we think it's care and it's loving, you know, oh, the person just pays interest in me. When we're not actually looking at the real cause or the reason, or why is that person like that? Or why are they doing or saying those things?
Maybe they haven't been addressed beforehand, so they don't know that it's wrong. Like you said, do they know it's wrong?
Unless they've been controlled themselves, and it's just a pattern.
They could be the victims of a controlling person.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
And then I think for the victim as well, maybe their self-esteem, where their self-esteem might have been high before that relationship, now they've gone into a relationship that they think is nice and whatever, but now you've seen something changed or a bit different, but it's kind of brought down your self-esteem a bit lower, and then you lose confidence, but then you just feel comfortable with that mental abuse.
I was going to say, sometimes you just can't see it, and maybe people looking in, like we was talking about, friends, family would be like, oh, you've changed, or you're not the same person, you used to do whatever. I mean, for some people within a relationship, it could be that they're in a relationship and they feel like they're in a different space, so they're not going to be the person that your family or your friends knew in the past. To them, they might feel that they've moved on, they've matured, they've grown, exactly. However, they're not actually realising that, in fact, you're being controlled.
Yeah.
And I think there's lots of people out there that could be going through that and just not realise that actually
that is happening to
this
me.
is actually happening to me. Like, what should I do? Like, and who do they ask? Who do they go to?
This is the question. Like, so many people are controlled.
Yeah.
So many people are controlled.
Is it that they just maybe try and have to find their own way?
Well, you know, there's always professional outlets that you can contact. However, if you don't know, you're controlling, or you're being controlled. Why would you feel the need to reach out to anybody?
Yeah.
Just because you say to me, "Oh God, you're a bit controlling," doesn't mean anything, does it?
I feel for the victim, they may have an idea, like they might have a thought to themselves, am I being like, this don't seem right?
Yeah.
But then they don't act upon it.
Yeah. Which is, in most cases, when you're a victim of something, you identify something that doesn't feel right, but you go along with it because it's like, oh, maybe it's a bad day. You kind of make excuses for the actions.
Yeah.
And then it's only when it gets so bad, then you think, oh. And then once you take yourself out of the equation, then you think, oh, this is what's been happening.
Yeah.
And that's the point when somebody who's close to you, a friend, foe, will say to you, oh my God, yeah, you really changed when you was with that individual. You was really, why didn't you tell me that when you saw it? I was going to say,
why do they wait? Why would you wait until after the fact if that person is a true friend?
Yeah, if you identify that friend is different or doing different things, why wouldn't you say, cuz or sis, like, what's going on?
Yeah, it shouldn't change how that person who you're going to tell is going to react to you or be towards you. It's just that at least they're aware of it. So you're saying, do you know what, sis? I'm telling you, this has happened since, or giving examples of where they've seen all the change, and whether it's a positive or a negative change. Like, it's not just going to be that they're saying it's all negative. There could be positive stuff that's happening while you're doing these changes. But
on the other hand, somebody that may come to you and say that to you, or a person may say, oh, you're jealous of me, you're jealous of my relationship. You know, there's so much things that people will say to quantifying that situation is okay, or you don't know what you're talking about. They say things and it's like, okay, to the point that you may see things as a friend, and where you've had a response like that, you'd be like, well, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want her partner. I'm looking out for her interest. I've identified there's an issue. I'm telling her as a friend. She's misinterpreted what I've said. And now there's a feud between us. Now I can't go to my friend and be open and honest because she's not receiving the information in the right context. Then what does that do to the friendship? It divides you, or even makes you as a friend stick closer to your friend because I've identified that friend isn't the way she used to be or he used to be. So even though you could tell a friend that you're identifying certain behaviours that don't seem to be their normal self, it can be received either negatively or positively. But most of the time, it's received in a negative connotation.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, even with younger children, like, sometimes there seems to be that one child that wants to control everything, and be that person that leads stuff, or, you know, we need to follow my idea, because mine's the best idea kind of thing. I just think that there's just lots of different circumstances and to do with young children, they most surely wouldn't talk, or it wouldn't be like an adult situation where maybe they could resolve it, or the children might resolve it. You never know. They could be.
Yeah, because it depends on whether their voice is heard as a child.
Yeah.
So it's a very tricky situation to be in, I think, and it's not so easy to identify, I don't think, when you're in it. If you've got a good support around you, then, and you're open and honest, because it's about you being open and honest. Because as much as we would like to say, oh yeah, I'm open to this, we do get our backs up. You know, if someone poses something to you and you don't like it, you do one of two things. You either interact with them, or you don't want to have a conversation with that person because it's too close to home. It's too true. You don't like what you're hearing and you don't want to accept that. So what you'll do is either grow closer to that person or you'll run away from that person. And then it's only when it gets to the crunch where you're in a situation, then you will be like, damn, I see what that person was saying.
So would you say controlling is a form of bullying as well?
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted
most
to,
definitely
I
is.
always wanted to hear other people's perspective of bullying and controlling.
Yeah. I think when talking about children and in schools and wherever that children might be, that definitely would be classed as bullying. Whether they're controlling or not, they're bullying that child or bullying that person.
Yeah, their character is more overpowering than the others.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we give these titles to things, we're not actually dealing with the issue. At the end of the day, being controlling is being controlling. Whether you class it as bullying, it's still being controlling. So what really needs to happen, you need to deal with the fact that that person is controlling, because they need to tame whatever they're doing down.
Yeah.
They need to be aware that you're intimidating another individual by your actions and your words.
But, you know, sometimes when a person is controlling, they actually don't know that they're controlling.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like, or they know that they're controlling and later on they reflect on it and say, oh, yeah, actually, when I was doing that, I was a bit controlling. And then when they are around those people again, they might just then act differently, like, okay, kind of try and tone it down and think, okay, this is what I did last time, which I felt was too controlling. I'm not going to do that. But then in other cases, like what we're talking about now, there's people that don't have no kind of...
No filter.
Yeah. No empathy or nothing. So
then for the person who's being controlled, how would you say to approach that person who is being controlling and doesn't see themselves as the controller?
I do really think, I mean, it's easier said than done, but you have to have confidence to speak up and say, do you know what, actually, I didn't like that you did such and such and such and such. Whether that person hears it or not, it doesn't matter. You've said it.
Yeah.
So then you've put your views out there, and you've let it know that, okay, actually, I might prefer this top.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but actually, I really, like, you've done your whole thing. I prefer this. Or, you know, actually, I want to go this way to the shop. I don't want to go to this. I don't want to go that way. Let's try a different, you know, like, it could be any circumstance. It's not necessarily just a relationship. It could be, like you said,
well, yeah,
just going out
for a meal.
Just going out for a meal. Just experiencing life.
Yeah. Like someone, you know, saying, I don't eat this and I'm not going here, or I don't intend, you know. Yeah. It's like that kind of behaviour kind of is warning signs. Yeah. To say.
Sorry, I was going to say, it can knock people's confidence, especially if you've got a partner that one wants to go out to eat and do whatever, and the other person like, actually, you know what, I don't actually really do going out to eat. Yeah. Like that in a sense could be a way of them trying to control what's going on around. There's
so many aspects of being controlled or being controlling, though. You know, in day-to-day life, you know, there are so many things that we do that you experience control. You know, and the way that people deal with it, I don't actually think they realise they're being controlled by situations. you know, when you think about society and how we do things, you know, we're expected to do this by this time, on this day. That's control.
Yeah, I was going to say, but society itself is controlling.
Yes.
There's people that have been put in certain places to make sure everything runs their kind of smoothly.
That's correct.
Yeah, I was going to say, not our kind of smoothly, their kind of smoothly, yeah. And they've been put in place to do that. Like, that is actually their job.
It's a society that we've grown into.
Definitely.
And now we've taken those controlling aspects and put them into us, and we've become part of that whole system.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's only when you're affected by it in a negative way that you actually identify that, oh, hold on a second. Not only am I being controlled, I am too controlling.
Yeah.
I am also a victim. I am also a contributor.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, even at this precise moment within society and this kind of pandemic kind of thing,
yeah.
I feel that it's been used as a tool to control so many different things.
Yeah. Yes.
Changes in policy,
Yes.
where people eat, when you come out, when you go to... It's just all a control system going on right now. And I hope everybody's eyes are open to what's going on and maybe in their own way trying to have their own control of situations.
I think you need to have a level of control in any situation. I think it's important just for your self-worth and self-being that you have some element of control in things you do on a day-to-day basis, because you can find that you get caught up in a system, you get caught up in something, and it's not till it's too late that you really feel like doesn't feel right. And we're so happy to just go along with things. We don't question anything. So then we find ourselves with our back up against the wall and nowhere to turn.
Yeah, that can happen at anything. Work, anything.
Exactly.
That can happen at anything, just like work.
We live
anything.
in a controlled society. Everything we do is controlled by somebody or something, be it a legislation, a policy, something. Now, we're all victims of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But then when you go when it becomes personal, that becomes more detrimental. That's more devastating to you, because now that's a personal loss.
But what if somebody within your workplace has got a personal vendetta against you? Then could that not be still a personal loss? Like,
of course,
you
it
don't
is.
feel like
It's
you want to go
personal to you.
Yeah,
It's personal to you.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
You're the one that's bearing the brunt of that because of the way that person is towards you, or how that person treats you as an individual.
Yeah, same with like friendships. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
It's a very interesting subject.
Yeah, very.
And the funny thing is, we haven't really touched on relationships per se, and we've all probably had experiences with individuals that, oh my God, alarm bells have rung. But it's interesting that we've gone away from that side. We've spoken about that.
Yeah.
But we're now thinking beyond that and the bigger picture, that we lived in a controlled society.
Yeah.
We are controlled daily. It's part of our DNA, so to speak, that we are either controlled, or we're controlling, or we're controllers.
Yeah. In some aspects, everybody
has
some kind of controlling kind of angle.
Trying to find that right word.
Yeah,
right?
I was trying to find that word. Like, behaviour. There you go. Behaviour.
That's the one. So we just have to be a little bit mindful of things that happen around us, with us.
Because I feel like sometimes, if I'm excited about something or I really enjoy something, I don't personally try to take over that thing, but I'm just so in that zone. Sometimes I can come across as being controlling, but it's not that I'm trying to be trying to be controlling. It's
No.
just that I'm just like, okay, this is it, and I've just got lost in that.
Yeah, but that's your personal thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like you're saying, like people may see that you're controlling, but that's just because they're not like you are. So somebody who is similar to you will be like, they're with you, doing what you need to do. Now, that might be out of that person who sees you as controlling's comfort zone.
True.
So now you're looking at it through different eyes. Your controlling behavior may not necessarily be controlling in your eyes.
Yeah.
But in another person's eyes who has clouded judgment, and I say clouded judgment for the simple reason is depending on their exposure to whatever they're exposed to would determine how they justify or quantify how you are as a person.
Yeah. Life experience.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, controlled, controller, controlling. Quite serious words.
Yeah, I just think there's so much to say about those 2 or 3 words, because obviously words that come out of words, but there's so much to say about this topic that it's like, where do you go without going too deep into one area of it?
Deep is probably good.
Yeah.
Because how many of us who have been any one of those had an opportunity to really think about that situation or those situations,
And also have an opportunity to really speak up and say something, because as you said, I feel like if you say something to that person, you kind of get a release from that, because you've kept it for so long. It could have been for months, it could have been for years.
Yep, so true.
And it's just like you decided today, I'm going to confront this person and say how I feel you're treating me.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that person will understand and rectify that so it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah, but even if they don't understand, you've given yourself back some self-worth,
right?
Because you've said what you've said.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
and that's key.
Yeah, that's I think by saying something, even if it falls on deaf ears, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Controlled. Now, there are people that have been controlled all their lives to no end. They don't know anything other than being controlled. You know, they could be listening today. You know, they're in a controlling relationship or friendship, or have a controlling boss or family member. They don't identify that they are being controlled. How do you let them know that they're being controlled? As a friend, as a, you know, somebody close to them. Because everyone deals with things differently.
Yeah, but, you know, like, okay, I know of someone that's experienced or been in a relationship and had their friend come and tell them whatever it is they think. And at first, obviously, you don't want somebody coming and telling you about what maybe you already know is going on.
Yeah.
You could be trying to deal with it already yourself.
Yeah.
I think it could be more embarrassing that actually other people are seeing it and kind of make you react defensively.
Yeah.
However, once you've digested that information, if that person's a close friend to you, you'll see that maybe that person actually is doing right by you, and you'd be happy that your friend actually said something instead of sitting there in silence and just watching everything go on.
It's a flip coin, isn't it?
It's a flip coin. It's really hard to make the decision, and you shouldn't have to wait until it's become detrimental to that friend or that person before you step in and say something. Like, if the friendship is worth something, then just say something.
Yeah. It's important to be open and honest and transparent.
But then I think maybe if they haven't said anything, it's because it's knocked their self-esteem. So they're not...
Do you mean the person that's going through this controlling thing? I get that, but their self-esteem's already not, that person's not trying to knock it. They're trying to say, look, listen, I don't want you to be in this position anymore. Me saying this is saying, like, this is something like maybe you have to try and deal with, or
but
I know it's hard to say it when you're not in it, but
to be quite honest, it's about that person identifying. I mean, if they don't identify, what you're saying doesn't really mean anything to them, because they're in a mindset of denial that this is actually happening to them. So you've come with this argument to them, or this suggestion, or this comment, and as far as they're concerned, their back probably goes up even more, for the simple reason, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
How could you come to that conclusion? Now, but what you have done, you've brought something to their attention which makes them look at themselves, which can go one of two ways, like anything.
Yeah.
It can go in their favour, where they escape from that, or it could go against you, the friend, who is looking out for their friend.
Yeah.
It's a catch-22.
It's
a gamble.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, as a friend, you might feel that you're just doing the right thing.
Yeah, 100%.
You could go away saying, actually,
yeah,
if you are that kind of person, you can go away and say, you know what, I know I definitely did the right thing by saying what I said.
Doing good is doing good.
Doing good is exactly.
How it's received is a different.
You have no control over that.
Exactly. Boils down to control again. So yes, so long as you feel right that you've told that person, you've identified, and you felt they should know, you've done a good thing, because you've opened their eyes up to something now that they probably weren't seeing before.
But that little friend that's there to help you experience things and maybe encourage you to step away from being around that person so much is actually helping and kind of boosting you up, I think.
Do you feel that there are red flags to identifying controlling behaviours, would you say? When you think, as you sit here and you think, as we've been discussing this, do you, any things that just come to mind, like, not wanting you to go out with certain friends, like we was talking about before, clothing. Even, and as much as like drinking, like people would say, oh, I don't want you to drink, I don't want you to smoke, and they're little things.
I don't like the way you've got your hair. Like, I prefer...
I don't like makeup. I do like makeup.
I don't like weave. I prefer braids. I actually prefer natural.
So all these things are things that we've heard.
Yeah.
And if we haven't heard them, friends and foe have heard them. But never actually classified them as being controlling.
No. But don't you think they could be red flags if when you met that person, they met you like that?
Depends on what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you might be attracted to that tall, dark and handsome individual, but he's controlling. At what point would you see that? You wouldn't see that until you're in it.
Yeah,
because
true.
you're attracted to something.
Yeah.
And it's a visual.
Yeah.
What's behind that visual is irrelevant, because that's not what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
So therefore you're going to fall into a scenario and a situation based on what your type is,
and look past
and overlook anything else. And it's only when you're in that situation that you now can quantify or revalue things based on you identifying there is actually a problem. If you don't realize there's a problem, how can you identify anything?
Yeah, it's true.
If what your friend is telling you isn't true in your eyes, where's the growth? There is no growth, because you don't actually see what your friend is saying to you. And it's only a point when it's too late, then you identify, and then you want to fix that broken friendship.
Yeah.
Or you want to mend that family bond, because you didn't see what your family, your friends, your boss saw.
But then that's just for the friend or the boss or the family member, if it was me, would bring caution then to how I might approach and say things to that person. Like, there might be things that I see and I think, oh, do you know what, actually I have to overlook that one, but there might be something else that I can say, oh, do you know what, they might not react too bad if I say this. So I'm going to say this, and hopefully they then look at things
it's how you approach it, isn't it?
Definitely how you
and
approach it.
There's no set rule of approaching it.
No.
Because everyone is so different. So obviously it's something that's quite scary to be going through that, not know you're going through that, and then someone identifying, then you've got to recheck yourself and see what they see.
And it's how you deal with it when you actually realise. So the realisation to yourself is, or can be like really like
hit or miss.
Hit or miss. Like you could be like, okay, do you know what? I know how to deal with this. I'm going to deal with it this way. Or it could be like,
can put you in a state of depression.
Yeah.
Not to mention you're probably in there already, but you just don't realise until that person's identified that. And it can go one of two ways. It's a very, very scary subject.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, on so many levels.
I'm sorry to cut you. I think for all of us, whether we are the controlling person to ourselves personally or controlled in whatever situation, we really need to think about this subject today and what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So going forward, you have to be mindful of how you probably say something to someone. Just like sit back or stand back and be like, what I am saying to that person, is it, how are they going to take that?
Yeah. And each person that you're going to tell that thing to is different.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
You need to know that person to be saying, okay, I know if I say to Miss Bubbles, just say for example, you know, you're always leaving early, you never stay behind, and they say, oh well my partner doesn't like me staying behind.
Yeah. Something that simple.
That's something that simple like that.
Yeah.
You're saying, no, stay, just, you know, for a little bit. They might not take it in a positive way.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
You know?
And that seems like something quite simple.
Yeah.
To somebody hearing you raise that would think, oh, that's nothing though. I don't like to stay late. Yeah, but what happens is you tend to quantify why you're doing what you're doing. So I'm leaving early because I don't like I need to get on the train before a certain time. No, you've got a controlling partner at home who's saying to you get home by that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to hear whatever it's they're going to say when you get there, so you just leave or something like that. You know.
So today's subject's been controlled or controller, and people display controlling behaviours, some of which we sometimes identify, sometimes we don't actually see the signs. Being controlling or being a controller, I feel is quite a negative thing. And if you feel that you need to control somebody in order to be powerful or intimidating, then I think you need to reflect on your behaviour. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in today. Good night and God bless.
What if we spoke honestly? What if we spoke honestly? What if we spoke